for what I think the third straight game, our special teams get a turnover, create a turnover. I don't know who else's special teams are creating turnovers like nonstop like that. Jay Bramblett's booting it back there, kicking some ass, taking some names in the punting game. It was ugly from LSU tonight. It was ugly. It was gritty. It was brutal. It was psychologically adverse from the first play of the game with Sevian Banks going down. It was a mental test, not just for the players, but for the coaches, for the fans, for everybody with LSU, anyone invested in LSU football. But from the moment B.J. Ojulari stuffed his face into Ashford's helmet and disgraced him to the ground, sending the ball out from his grasp and into the chest, into the hands of Jay Ward, going the other way for a touchdown, from that point forward, I knew LSU were coming out of Jordan-Hare with the victory. When LSU defense scores a touchdown, I swear to God we're undefeated. There's just too much swagger, too much shithousery to overcome when you're facing an LSU defense that good, that dynamic, that badass, that intense. Down 17-0. It only made it 17-7. We still had to really fill in the blanks to get it there, to get it coming. Coming close. They pulled it out with receivers catching 32 total yards. 32 total yards. My God. My God. Let's do our MVPs. Let's do our MVPs for the night. Our defensive MVP, looking at this, and I'm wondering. And I think it really can be only one person when you really look at it. And, I think this is the person who kind of changed the game, basically. And maybe someone doesn't recover his forced fumble, but I think he changed the game with his play. And B.J. Ojulari, 4 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 created defensive touchdown. And you know what? We can add to that 5 pressures and 3 quarterback hits as well to make that even more definitive. Oh, it didn't save my changes. Oh well. B.J. Ojulari, 2 more sacks on the season, 2 tackles for loss, huge forced fumble, strip sack. Created that defensive touchdown that turned the tide of this game tonight. Right, down 17-0. Down 17-0, and then after that play, 21-17 is the final. You can't tell me that play was not the difference in that game. That play was the difference in the game. B.J. Ojulari supplied it. Jay Ward took it home. Jay Ward had a great game as well. Jaquelin White had a great game as well. Harold Perkins was everywhere tonight. Had an interception himself. Micah Baskerville was making some plays. But B.J. Ojulari just wreaked havoc. And I can't wait to see his overall Pro Football Focus premium stat, next level stats, because he got pressures and all of his hurries and his pass rushing grades and all of that. It's going to be outrageous. I bet he had something like a 79, 80% pass rushing grade tonight. He was fantastic. Offensive MVP, This is going to be interesting for everybody. I think this has got to be the dude who does it. This has got to be the guy who gets it tonight. I really can't wait to see how many first downs he was able to rush for. But tonight, Josh Williams has to be the offensive MVP. I know that John Emery Jr. scored a touchdown, but he also fumbled the ball. And so, as much as I wanted to give this to John Emery Jr. and was hoping he would bust out, Josh Williams really won this game for us. 68 yards, 14 rushes. I want to say he had something like 6 or 7 first downs of our 20. But, 17 attempts that he's had, not 14. 17. But he had so many different first downs for us, so many rushing first downs. He was the guy that kept drives going for LSU in our comeback. He guided that comeback little by little. And Josh Williams is having the season of his career this year. So, this is very weird and shocking and kind of strange. Josh Williams, 68 yards, 17 carries. But then, B.J. Ojolari is someone who makes sense. 4 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 trade defensive touchdown. You always expect someone like B.J. Ojolari to be a defensive MVP, but Josh Williams as your offensive MVP. That's interesting. And maybe it shows why LSU – it shows how bad LSU are in the passing game. It's just non-existent. 32 total receiving yards from our receivers. Mason Taylor led the team in targets with 7. I mean, the structure of the offense is a problem. And so when someone was saying, should we blame Mike Denbrock? Actually, when I think about it, maybe we should. Maybe we should a bit. This obsession with the tight end, being out there on every play. Why? Why do we need a tight end out there on every play? Put the best players out there on every play and force the defense to cover the best. That's it. That's it. We don't have to have a tight end out there on every play. And we also have a very inexperienced tight end out there on every play. And I'm a big defender, supporter, and proponent of Mason Taylor, but he is inexperienced. He is young. And you're asking him to do a lot out there. And a lot of these plays, he's doing these weird, complex blocks where he's just going out on a fake route and just blocking. It's like, what are we doing? We're wasting a receiver here. When we got those guys on the sideline, we got Jack Besh on the sideline. Jack Besh had like 4 or 5 offensive snaps in the entire first half. That is an absolute disgrace. And it was after Coach Kelly said we were going to get Jack Besh more involved in the game plan. Well, they did for 1 week against a weak-ass team, and it still wasn't enough. And now Jack Besh goes to being non-existent, completely non-existent in the offensive game. I don't get it. I don't get it. We're running these routes that are going out. We're throwing all on the boundary. Jaden Daniels can't make those throws. And why are we asking him to do it and it's not getting us any yards? Why are we doing that? We throw the ball to the inside. Routes that go inward. Trajectory of routes that go inward. Slants. Mesh concepts. Up and ins. These aren't that difficult. Like, I don't understand why we're going to the boundary so much. So when someone was saying, should we question Mike Denbrock? Yes, we should. Maybe the structure of this offense is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, having a tight end in there every single play.